Alright, welcome back to The Rising of the Shield Hero Anime Review, episode number 37. We are here reviewing the 57th episode of the series, Arriving in Kyuutenlo. Yep. And I actually did look up what was adapted for this episode. You're like, really? Oh yeah, I did. This episode adapted from, because last episode only covered about halfway through chapter 12. This episode finished up that chapter and pretty much covered, from what I can tell, the entirety of chapters 13, 14, and 15. But not the epilogue, surprisingly. I think the epilogue probably adapted maybe next week's episode, maybe. Because, this is interesting, though, the fact that it has taken this season 7 episodes to pretty much cover one book. Now, do I think that, and this is a very interesting question, do I think 5 episodes might be enough to cover book 14? It's a maybe. There's a strong possibility of that. Do I think of book 15 this season? No. I don't think so. The probably said when they would do season 5 for the show, which, yeah, book 15 covers like one story arc. Yeah, and that's the Hitao arc. Yeah, and that's the entirety of book 15. And then, of course, there is the War of the Heroes arc. Yep. And that itself is also one book. Excuse me. And basically, this is kind of interesting with the arcs. It's like next to one book. The third arc after this one, 2 books. Fourth arc, Food Battle, 1 book. Yeah, but that isn't exactly like book 18 cover. It's like starts. Yeah, it's more like a book and a quarter, and then book 18 covers the rest. Well, start of it anyways. Book 18 covers pretty much like 3 story arcs. It covers like Return to New World, Food Battle, Third Army. But it finishes the book, goes to the entire book 19, and then goes straight to book 20. It starts book 20, but doesn't finish it. Heroes Past and Present, that's the most recent arc of the series. That pretty much covers the rest of book 20, the entirety of book 21, and the entirety of 20. Excuse me, 22. But the thing is, book 22 is the most recent book released. Now you're probably thinking, why in the world is book 22 the most recent book released? Because for some weird reason, the series has not released any new books. Now you might be asking, is the series over? No. It's just that the last book came out, believe it or not, here almost 4 years ago, and still pretty much basically no new books. As for why, not sure why. And here's the weird thing. They released this last book the same year that season 1 aired for the series. Yeah, so by the time the series started, they had already released 22 books. Yeah, but as of right now, I've only got book 13 so far. But basically, here's what happens in this episode. So, we begin right where we left off last episode, where Naofumi, Reptalia, Sadia, and Gelon, he's the dragon, where they're in Kyuutenlo. And of course, they switch clothes. Though apparently he has like another shield with him. I'm not sure. It looked weird for the animation. So, and Reptalia had the higher ears and tail because some people in Q2 see her as the false emperor. So, and they see the place like, oh, it's like Reptalia themed Japanese land, and Reptalia is like, yeah, she probably doesn't know. And later on, of course, she does question what a shogun is, which now who doesn't mention it, because in the book, Reptalia doesn't mention anything about knowing anything about a shogun at all. Because of course he's it's like a king. Yeah, they cut the connection out for some reason. Of course, they walk to town, then we see a boy being attacked by a turtle monster, and you're thinking, why isn't anybody helping the boy? And then Gilon proceeds to, of course, he had nothing who tried to, but it's like, wait, let Gilon do it. And Gilon proceeds to kill the monster, and they attempt to arrest him for saving a boy. And apparently there's no killing living creatures law. Also, high taxes, which results in people starving. I'm like, wow, this emperor sucks. So then, of course, we're introduced to a brand new character here with wings. Yeah. And we're introduced to Revolvo and his son, first, who then brings him to Ralva, who apparently, get this, he apparently knew Reptalia's father. Yeah. And like, oh, they're still, yeah. Also, Senator Locke randomly pops up in this episode. Yeah, it just... Yeah. So, they're like, yeah, then we have Reptile put on the Miko outfit that she wore at the end of the previous season of the show, pretty much the reason why they're here. And of course they have to take down the lighthouse, which controls the barrier, which they decided to do the last episode. So then they proceed to, well, use his clansmen. They have the clansmen telling people, and of course they have an uprising. And it's like, kill the false emperor! And of course they basically blast away through Naofumi, pretty much basically destroys the gate, and they have a big humongous brawl. And then all of a sudden we have this bear guard who gets powered up by a frickin' spear, who also shuts down Naofumi's weapon. By the way, before all this happened, there's this weird perverted man who basically decides to hit on first Reptalia and then Soda. Then he gets shocked. He just showed up later on in the episode where he's like, you traitor, you're studying against basically the enemy. Yeah, he's like, no, I study with the hot ladies. I thought that was kind of funny. Kudos voice acting for that. Yeah, that was one. Okay, so in the book, basically nicknamed Masuya 2. In the anime, there's no mention of it at all. So And then, of course, he gives Naofumi a special Sakura shield, which disables the man's weapon. And of course, he uses this special ability to basically take the blessings of the who have it. And then he proceeds to defeat the guy, and then they bring down the barrier, thanks to, of course, Gilon and Sylvan's ability. And then everybody arrives. And then, of course, Zelda basically gives Naofumi a hug. Of course, Alta's like, yeah, and then, of course, you have the blacksmith. It's like, Master, what are you doing here? Yeah. It's like, this is your master? And then, of course, basically, like, oh, let's go have some tea. And then he's punching the gun. Everybody just walks by him in the episode. I thought it was kind of funny. Overall, great episode. I love this. And we have 5 more to go. And then we're done with this season. And given the fact there's still plenty of story to tell with this series, there's got to be more seasons. Oh, God, yes, there's definitely got to be. I mean, now, here's the thing. By the time we finish book 14, which is probably that next episode, by the time that finishes up, there are only 8 books left to adapt. You're like, really? 8? Yeah, and pretty much the season only covered 2 books. And it was kind of the same thing like that last season, too, where they also pretty much covered pretty much 2 books, except for like the last couple of chapters. Yeah, basically 2 books overall. And I actually kind of like this approach, doing 2 books instead of doing 3. Gives it plenty of breathing room. Like, it is surprising book 13 got 7 episodes to it. 7! That's shocking. It most certainly is. 7 freaking episodes covered out 1 book. And now we're on book 14, which 5 episodes is not too bad. It's not the least I've seen covering a book. The least I've seen is freaking 1. That adapted to a short story, but I think the shortest to cover a whole book is like 2 episodes. Yes. Let's hope basically we don't do that. And I think when this season wraps up, they're basically just going to wrap it up with that. And probably say books 15 and 16 for next season's show. And yeah, with the whole thing of 8 books left, I would say that this series can probably put out 4 more seasons at the most. Though when they get to book 18, it's going to be kind of weird because that book covers 3 freaking story arcs. I am not kidding about that. It does. So if they do that, when they get to that point, they might have to extend the season. Who knows? Okay, so that's pretty much it for the particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Okay, so next up, basically, we have is a Comic Corner, and then it's on to Reborn's Vending Machine. Okay, next few.